Okay, it's the 48-hour rule. It's been 48 hours since the Georgia Bulldogs lost to Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. So we can talk about that. But really, it's been a very, very busy 48 hours of transfer portal updates. Yes, we have stories at UGAsports.com about the snap count and some of the guys who got snaps versus guys who didn't. We have the grades up at UGAsports.com. You can check out all the grades that the players got. Some were good, some were bad, some were very confusing. I like Pro Football Focus, but there are times where what they grade doesn't match what I saw, but mainly because they grade, you have one person looking at every play a guy makes, every snap. And I'll remember the one that he missed or the one that he made and ignore all the others. So that's kind of my problem there. Yeah, O-line didn't play great with the running game. Yeah, but then other times they did. Remember that first scoring drive? I mean, they just mashed Ole Miss. But other times they didn't. They didn't block well. So missed a block. And then, some stupid plays. There's a great story at UGAsports.com. And I know I sound like a shill for this, but it is my company, it is my job. But it's 6 plays that Georgia wished they had back. After the game was over, Kirby Smart said, we got outcoached, we got out-executed, we got outplayed. And he said, there's some decisions we wish we had back, or decisions we would have made differently. So we're going to do a series on offense and defense, and the ones on defense the ones on offense, there's 6 questions that, 6 plays that Georgia wishes they had back. So that's if you go check, and we just put it up about maybe an hour and a half ago. So you can check out at UGAsports.com the 6 plays that Georgia wish they got better. So yes, the final drive's on there, but some other plays that were just missed. It's pretty bad. Is Gunner okay? He seemed concussed. That hit he took, I would not surprise me. But here's the thing, and we can say he's tough, but the throw he had to Zachariah Branch on the touchdown, I just think that if he was concussed, he was seeing 3 of them, and he threw to the one in the middle. So not making light of CTE or head injuries, but he just didn't play to his capabilities. And remember, this is a guy who against that same Ole Miss team had 5 touchdowns and only 5 incompletions. So people can say, oh, well, Gunner's just not the guy to do it. He whooped Ole Miss's ass the first time they played him. He beat Texas and Alabama. So just people who want to bang on Gunner, it's like, come on. You also had guys who weren't getting separation. You had pass rushes that were coming at him. And he might have been concussed, but that's a guy who played his heart out for you. 2 rushing touchdowns. You can't win with him. I don't know that you can't win with him. He scored 35 points. You're supposed to win the damn ball game, but you can't win if your defense gives up 550-something yards and pressures Trinidad Chambliss 3 times on one drive and can't sack him. So you're bringing extra men, and you can't get to him. So I think it's more Trinidad Chambliss was better than Gunner Stockton, but there aren't a lot of Trinidad Chamblisses out there. What are you going to do? Go get one? So, but they're trying to in the transfer portal. They're looking at everybody. So, hey, dog father, got you into one of my shows. I love it. Old Johnny Mel says, fire Mike Bozo. Yeah, if you want to. Kirby Smart's not going to. If we'd had Nate, we would have won the game. Very possible. If you'd had Drew Bobo, you probably would have won the game. If you had Gabe Harris, you might have won the game. You lost the game by 3 points. You lost 2 games all season. 2 games all season long by 3 points. And I know there was a safety tacked on there, but the game was over. Come on, so that's how close you are. And if you're only losing games, you beat every team that you've played on your season, because you even beat Ole Miss once. That's not indicative of wholesale change coming. I'm not sorry, that's not what you want to hear. It's just not going to happen. You're never going to play for a championship until Mike Bozo's gone. Johnny, if you don't understand football, just type, I don't understand football. It's a much simpler sentence. You'll get it. It'll be okay. Now, this one's a good question from Brian. Why do we run a pass play on 3rd down instead of running the ball and letting the clock run down? You want some fun story time? I'm on the sideline, and y'all hold off on your questions here for a second, because I know you'll have them, but I'm going to tell you a story, and I don't want to miss them and have to go back. So it's that same drive. It's at the end there, and I'm going from one end of the field to the other, and I see Georgia's athletic director, and he's looks like he's talking to himself. Looks like he's been crying. His voice is hoarse. I mean, this is a guy. He's just an emotional. He's a man with a lot of emotions. Okay, this is Josh Brooks, the Georgia athletic director, who has a new contract with Georgia. But this man lives and dies with his football team. And I'm like, he sees me looking at him like he's grown two heads, and he realizes he's been talking out loud to himself. And he goes, I'm talking through scenarios, right? I'm talking through scenarios. I'm like, okay. And I thought it meant like if Georgia wins here, them going to Glendale, Arizona, or, stuff like that. No, he was working on that drive. He's like, okay, from where we are, we got to give it to the quarterback 3 times in a row. Don't take it out of his hands. Keep it in Gunnar Stockton's hands. Punch it in for the end zone. Don't leave any time on the clock. And then they get down to 2nd and 3. And he's like, okay, run it. Don't throw it. Run it. And don't even hand it off. Don't even hand it off. And then they didn't get in. He's like, okay, here, we've got to run it. We can't throw it. We've got to run it. We can't throw it because if you throw it, then they get time back. Even the offensive coordinator knew that was saying, just kick run it. And if you get in, which of course, Ole Miss also knows you're going to run it there. And they're going to load up the box to keep you from running it. You're going to have more bodies than not because they don't want you to punch it in and run the clock out. So they're willing to let you throw it, but they're not going to let you run it. And so they load the box. Mike Bobo takes a shot. Kirby takes the shot. Kirby says, we're going, the analytics, they go for the win there. I get that. I really do. I get going for the win. And because your defense can't stop shit. You're 0-7 on 3rd down in the second half. Do you really think you can stop Trinidad Chambliss if he's on your 25? The way he's been playing that second half? Well, they went for the win, and they missed it. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying why. The question from Brian was, why did we do that? I thought Georgia should run it. You thought Georgia should run it. Everybody thought Georgia should run it and then kick the field goal. Hope you get into the end zone. This is when you wish you had a big, remember the Jordan Davis package, where you hand it off to a guy like that, or you have him as the lead blocker, or the Rod Robinson play where he's your lead block. You have a fullback. But that's tough because there's just a mass of bodies in there, and your center's been getting blown up all night. Your guards have been whiffing on blocks. So I just don't think they had the faith to mash it in as needed. But if you didn't get it, the clock would have still run down. You kick the field goal that you're going to kick anyway, and you don't give them time. And especially if you don't have the faith in your defense to go to overtime, you damn sure don't have the faith in to go to the defense to stop them driving the ball on you 67 yards. So Nate would have gotten in the end zone. I don't know. He was pretty beat up. Is Zach leaving? I think it's this morning I would have said it's only a 20% chance he's here, but there's more of a chance he's here. I'd say maybe 40, 60, but he's still much more likely to go to the pros than stick around. And that's it. I mean, Georgia doesn't have a lot of explosive QBs, so you'll excuse me while now that my story's over, I'm going to have to refinish there. I just want Georgia to be the team that announcers say, oh, that was a perfect play call. They do a lot. Then they also say that I don't know what Mike Bobo was doing there, or I don't know what the goal was there. So, and they say that about every offensive coordinator and every defensive coordinator. And, I mean, we can rip Mike Bobo to no ends, and people say, well, he can't. That's twice they haven't won they didn't win a playoff game. Yeah, that's true. But also, Glenn Schumann is the other coordinator. So, defense, offense, special teams. Your offense scored 30, offense scored about 30 points because you got the 7 from the fumble. You miss a PAT. I mean, you miss a field goal, special teams blunder. Your defense just gets gashed. Looks like they have no idea what they're doing. And you're doing it with out starters on both sides of the ball. So just that is a team loss. Your coaches were wrong. Your players were wrong. Your players didn't execute, missed tackles, missed coverages. You know, um, it's on everybody. Um, yeah, why play man? Yeah, why play man on that pass play? To Ole Miss, let them get in field goal range. I do not understand. That's just as confusing as going for the pass. So, is that Mike Bobo's fault? Offensively, yes. On defense, no. That don't call press man. Keep it in front of you. Again, TR says no blocking all game, not all game. Remember, there was a couple drives there in the first half where they just mashed everybody. Now, granted, Ole Miss had changed its defense at that point. So, but yeah, that's how it goes. Baxter Hunt says it was a team loss. I thought the coaches did well, honestly. The coaches will tell you they did not. Kirby said they got out coached. But there were moments, just like the players. There were moments where the players made fantastic plays. There were moments where they completely effed up. Same with the coaches. Stupid play calls, stupid schemes on defense, or just not executed correctly. Going forward on fourth down, that ball should have never been snapped. Kirby Smart said it. You can see Monroe Fleeting doesn't even move because he's not expecting the ball to be snapped. So that's a mistake. That's a player mistake. You're out there with a guy who's only in his second start. And I'm not putting that all on Malachi Tolliver, but I'm just saying if you had Malachi Tolliver, if you had Drew Bobo out there instead of Malachi Tolliver, maybe that play doesn't blow up in your face. Maybe if you have Gabe Harris and you have some semblance of a pass rush, or hell, even edge contain. So, defense was on the field too long. That can absolutely become part of it. But the defense can also get itself off the field. The defense can get off in 3 plays. They might have to go. To me, you can't say that they were out there too long. You can say they were out there too many times. That your offense didn't sustain a drive. So therefore, they had to keep going back on the field. So maybe if you mean about that way, they were too long, but they can also get a 3 and out. And they did a few times. Yeah, Ole Miss fans acting like they've been everywhere. Ooh, my Diet Dr. Pepper Princess. That might be my new favorite follower of all time because I drink so much Diet Dr. Pepper. I'm probably going to have that cancerous growth I'm going to get in my neck will probably say Diet Dr. Pepper on it. So it's coming. I know it's out there. I see where that safety from Clemson is interested in UGA. Khalil Barnes, absolutely. He's visiting. And did you see the other Clemson safety? I'm pretty sure his safety is going into the portal. Let me call up here real quick. I hate to give you guys a commercial, but if you're not a member of UGA Sports, now's a great time to sign up because it's 50% off with the transfer portal going on. FSU safety Edwin Joseph was the other one I was thinking of. He's visiting Georgia on January 8th. That guy started 10 games for FSU. He finished with 37 tackles, 3 interceptions. He was number 7 in the ACC in interceptions. But the other kid I was thinking of from Clemson is starting safety Ricardo Jones. He's entering the portal. That guy had 6 interceptions. He led the ACC. So another safety. So a lot of ACC safeties out there doing pretty well who that are interested in Georgia. Again, I don't know that about Ricardo Jones, but you're right. Khalil Barnes would be one. And I got sideways. The reason I'm saying sign up for UGAsports.com is we have all these recruiting updates, transfer portal updates. It's on the Dog Vent, which is our message board. It's all there. And then we also have a content item on the front page where we've got 8, 9, 10 different updates just from today. There was a bunch of them yesterday as well. So if you want to know who's visiting and who's not. And I will say this about our move over to On3. When On3 bought Rivals and they brought in all of the Rivals recruiting guys. So now you have all the On3 recruiting guys and all the Rivals recruiting guys all working together. We've got so many updates coming. I mean, Greg Biggins sends us stuff. Chad Simmons sends us stuff. Sam Spiegelman sends us stuff. Pete Nakos sends us stuff. Hayes Fawcett. I mean, there's no one that has more Georgia recruiting info right now than our guys. And it's these coaches are busting their ass trying to get these guys in here. So help's coming. And they're going to look at every position. there's nobody's free. Do you think we'll find a Zach Branch replica? There are 3 different guys. There's that kid from Georgia Tech, but there's a bunch of receivers that Georgia's looking at in the portal right now. There's that Jeremy Scott kid out of South Alabama. Interesting. He's got offers from Ole Miss, Arkansas, and others. That Kansas State receiver, Jace Brown. He's got Ole Miss, LSU, Auburn, Kentucky, Louisville offers. He's interested in Georgia. Georgia's looking at the Florida transfer, Aiden Mizell. So, a lot of names. But, yeah, Isaiah Cannon could make sense. He's fun to watch. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not a clone. I mean, he's 6'4", the exact opposite. The point is, can you get somebody with that sort of production? I think you've got the guy, or you got a guy who can just fill the slot if Zach Branch leaves. I think Talon Taylor could be that guy. You got Sokovie White, so. Justin Palmer, you were on crack, man. I'm just. I think that's a good question here. Do you believe Gunnar could layer the ball? Intermediate passing game was non-existent. A lot of that was the routes. And yes, he can. I've seen him, throw over the linebackers under the safeties again and again and again. He absolutely can. What I'd like to see him do it is on a rollout, which is, I saw him practicing it before the game started. He live. You guys watched it with me, and you watched him and Lawson Lucky and a bunch of the other guys working that rollout at that intermediate depth. And he did it on the first drive. And I'm like, we just watched him practice that for like 15 minutes before they warmed up. I mean, that was like his early warm up before the team warmed up. And he's just, he's definitely got that capability. So, do you think UGA is going to be better next year? That is a great question. And right after the game, I tried to put things in perspective. It was not well received. It was not. I said, look, Georgia, you lost 2 games by 3 points. A lot of your young guys grew up. They got a lot. It was Kirby Smart's youngest team of all time. They played much better football at the end than they did at the beginning. And a lot of those guys are coming back. You can have your entire offensive line come back except for Micah Morris. And if you're replacing him with Dontrell Glover, that's a push. You can have your quarterback come back. You can have your running backs come back. You can have your best tight ends come back. Except for, Oscar Delp would move on. You lose a bunch of wide receivers, so replace the wide receivers. That's pretty strong. Defensive linebackers. I think Rayla Wilson's coming back. I don't know about C.J. Allen. You lose Dalen Everett, but you've got some really good corners who've developed. Now you got Ellis Robinson, DeMello Jones, Robinson, K.J. Bolden's back. You need another safety. But the point being is you're replacing so many, or you're bringing back so many guys that you had to replace last year. You had to replace all these guys, double-digit draft guys. And they won't have double-digit draft guys this year. And you had a bunch of guys go to the portal. And you'll have a bunch of guys go to the portal this year too, but Georgia did really well in rebuilding. This was a rebuilding year. And at one point, before the clock hit 0 2 nights ago, you were tied with Indiana for being the most likely team to win the national championship. That's what Kirby Smart could do in a rebuilding year. Now all these guys are coming back. Gunnar will be better next year. You saw how Stetson Bennett in his first year starting versus his second year starting looked like a completely different guy. Year 2 in a program, it's going to be much better for him. Year 2 as the starting center for Drew Bobo, better. Year 2 for Juan Gaston, Dontrell Glover, Ethan Barbour, Elias Williams, Quintavious Johnson, Gabe Harris. Those guys look completely different from game 1 to game 12. Game 13 when they beat the brakes off Alabama. That defense grew up before your very eyes. They all get them all back next year. Damn near. Now, yeah, the portal's open. Today's day 2 of the portal. There's 8 more days to go. You don't know. There's a big shoe that's going to drop. Where you're like, we were counting on that guy to come back. And now he's going to Texas or Ole Miss or UCLA or Florida or wherever. Somebody's going to come in with a bag to get your players. It's coming. We just don't know who. So, but yes, the answer to that question is Georgia is going to be better next year. And the schedule works out better for them too. So remember, this is the second. Last year's schedule was ridiculous. This year was the inverse of that schedule. Same teams. Next year's schedule is better. So I think it's going to be pretty good. How close was Mendoza to coming to Athens? Incredibly close. I know people who were there on his visit, and he loved Georgia. He liked Mike Bobo. He loved the offensive scheme. But he was not promised a starting job. Indiana did. Maybe you could have promised it to him, but that's just not a Kirby Smart thing. He just won't do it. And you didn't know how good he could be. You didn't know he was going to be the Heisman Trophy winner. You knew he had a lot of talent, but you didn't know he was going to be that good. So do you promise it to a guy? Auburn did that, or pretty much, with Jackson Arnold. How'd that work out for them? Coach is fired. Do you see Georgia getting a running back? Yeah, they only brought in, last 2 years, they've only brought in, one running back? They better go get a couple out of the portal if they can. Can we go after some pass rush help? Sean Jackson asks. Yes, you can. And you're going to. Vernon says, do you think we get Cam Coleman? I do not. I don't think you're going to pay $3.5 million. I mean, he wants at least 2. I've heard 3.5. I don't know if that's crazy or not. But every team in the semifinals has their starters. About half of them are transfer portal guys. So a lot of that's due because they didn't recruit well and they just went out and bought the players they needed. A lot of it is, kind of not exactly building a super team, but addressing your errors, your taking the best players from other places. So Georgia's going to do that, and they'll go after a Cam Coleman. Georgia's going to spend a lot of money in the portal, more than they've ever had by far. They're going to be very competitive, but do you go all in on one wide receiver like Cam Coleman? Let somebody else buy him and then go get 3 really good guys. And does Valdon Stone play a role next year? Absolutely. And some of those guys need to get stronger. So I was talking to J.J. Henne. He says it really fast. When he got to Georgia, he couldn't bench 225. Now he's benching 315. He's squatting a lot more. He just had to get stronger. So, same when I was talking to, I can't think of his name. I'm going to lose my mind. Defensive tackle from Miami, Josh Horton. I said, what are you looking for towards next year? He's like, honestly, the thing I'm most excited about is another year of being with Scott Sinclair in the weight room. I said, I got to get stronger. So I got the speed. I got to get the capabilities of doing everything. I just got to get bigger. I got to put on weight and get more muscle mass. Like, wow. Okay. So that's, see, I don't know that you're getting Isaiah Canyon there, JC. Maybe, but I mean, definitely possible. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying it's, let's see. Dalton Smith says Cam's not asking for $2 million. It's not about the money. He's already asked for $2 million, dude. Texas A&M's already agreed to that, and it's going higher than that. Yeah, he wants to go someplace where he can win a championship, absolutely. But there's a lot of teams that are in the running for that who will pay him a lot more than he's making now. So you can't tell me that it's not, it's just about winning a championship. If I tell you, hey, you're making $1.5 or $1 million now, but you can go to Texas in the running, Texas A&M in the running, Texas Tech in the running, Georgia in the running, Ohio State in the running, and I could pay you $3 million. Or you can go to any of those schools and I'll pay you 1.8. Well, you're going to go to the one that pays you 3. Come on, man. Not arguing with you. It's just, don't give me that. I just want to win a title. Yeah, there's a lot of places you can do that. Some will pay you twice as much as what you're making now. So I'll tell you what, I'll believe you if he tells the team he's going to pay me what I was making at Auburn. Don't pay me any more. And use that to go get somebody else. If he does that, then I'll believe you. And I'll believe that happens when my shit turns purple. So, Why was the stadium so Ole Miss ruled? It was like an Ole Miss home game. It was louder there than I've been to Oxford many times. It was louder than Oxford. It was louder than a Saints game. They were loud as hell. It was nuts. Well, not a Saints game. That's taking it too far. But yeah, because more of them traveled, more of them came. It's an easier drive for them. And I think a lot of Georgia fans were holding out. They thought Georgia thought they were going to win, and they were. You can go to New Orleans or Glendale, Arizona. And they're like, well, if Georgia doesn't win there, then I don't want to. There's no point in going to Glendale, but I don't want to waste my one travel trip going to New Orleans, which I was at last year. I've been multiple times. I want to go to Glendale, Arizona, see Georgia's first ever appearance in the Fiesta Bowl. And so they didn't come. I mean, and it was like a home game. I will tell you this: Georgia wanted the Ole Miss fans wanted this game as badly as Georgia wanted to beat Alabama. They just came through a bad divorce, man. They came through a bad divorce with Lane Kiffin, and they were ready. They were ready to kick somebody's ass and make somebody pay and show that they're still attractive. So they needed this, just like Georgia needed to get the monkey off its back. They came out from the jump, psyched out of their minds. So it's crazy. There's the hottie toddies. I know we get a few in there. Yeah, see, JC's wife's an Ohio State grad, and they were going to drive from San Diego to see UGA OSU. that would have been a good one, but both of them are out. So it was Alabama. Was it a Glenn issue or a personnel issue? See, that's the same thing we could say about Mike Bobo. Was it a gunner issue or offensive line issue, or is it a Mike Bobo issue? And KJ.UGA, I hate to do this, but if you want an honest answer, you'll hear me out. It's a little of both. There are times he does not make, this is from other coaches that I talk to. They're like, when it comes to a game plan, he's one of the best in the business. He's a defensive savant. He's great at it. But when the other team has his checks, when he sees their personnel and they go to a formation, a scheme, and then they check, the offense changes its thing and he changes to his. Sometimes they get his checks. I've heard this. And then they, once they know what his checks are, they can check again and do something different. In game, it takes him longer to adjust than other people. But also, he's got no second. I mean, he has one safety, no other safety help, and they're weak at star. He has two edge rushers who are starting their first, one who hardly ever played the position, and that's his two best edge rushers. No elite pass rushers. Defensive line was okay, not great. Nobody on that defensive line, you're like, that's a game changer. Fantastic inside linebackers, like 5 of them, ridiculous. But you can't win the game with a bunch of inside linebackers and no great outside linebackers. He had a liability at one of the corner spots starting the season, who was out midway through. And then when he brought in Ellis Robinson, the next man up, that guy was a weekly a pass interference call. But he developed them. They got better across the board. But he still, you don't have the elite. How many guys on this defense are going to get drafted right now and next year? Just saying. So, little column A, little column B. Some is on him, some is personnel. Same on the offense. How many elite wide receivers do you have? Elite guards, great center, two really good tackles who sometimes play elite. Good quarterback, great quarterback. Elite, sometimes not. Sometimes you make boneheaded calls. And he'll tell you that. Sometimes they make great calls. Sometimes he makes a call, the gunner checks out of it. Sometimes everyone thinks, go back to that catch at Tennessee, 4th and 6, touchdown catch. Crazy. That was the second option on that play, not the first. So sometimes people be like, Mike Bobo that was a hell of a brave call by Mike Bobo, but it's like, no, that was the second progression. Then other times it's like, okay, Mike's got the great call on, and Gunnar does something different. That's why Kirby after the game will say he got us into the right decision, or there's a couple of those decisions we wish he'd gone a different way. So, what about the coordination on the failed fourth down conversion? Yeah, that was dumb. Ball should have been snapped. Kirby said as much. With Sokovia White, somebody's asking about him. That's a guy who can play that slot. He's really good, but I'd watch out for the portal there, just in case. Has Bo ever won a playoff game? I don't think so. Well, he was on staff when Georgia won a national title. He was in charge of the red zone. So that's pretty something. Georgia's been 5 times to the playoffs. Kirby, he's been the play caller for 2 of them, and 2 times they didn't. One, he was doing it with a quarterback it was his first start. The second time he was doing it with a quarterback who was on his 13th start. Could have won it. Scored 27 points, then had 7 points added on through the defense. If your team scores 37 points, you should win a game. Don't expect his defense to give up 550-something yards. Again, not defending Mike Bobo, we're just saying it's not the same as going into the playoffs with an entire defensive roster who's going to be drafted pretty much twice. That makes it a lot easier as on an offensive coordinator when you have a phenomenal defense like that. You can take so many more chances because even if the other team gets the ball, you're going to get it right back. You can fling it all the way down the field. First and goal from your 25, you can throw a 45-yard out route, go nuts. You don't need to worry about being on schedule. Hey, we got to pick up at least 4 or 5 yards on this first down. Then we got to get to about the same on second down. So if we're at third down, we're third and short. Or let's pick up 8 yards on the first down. So we got a second 2. That's our waste down. We can try whatever the hell we want. So that's just how they do it. As Gunnar officially stated, he's returning. Is he considering the NFL? He's not considering the NFL, but you got to make sure somebody doesn't come in and try to, I don't say hire him away, but somebody can come in and offer him a giant bag, especially if Georgia wants to not pay him what he's worth, okay? You have a situation where you're like, oh, well, he loves playing for Georgia, so we only need to pay him like $800,000, and you're a team who's just lost your quarterback, and you're like, we need a QB, like Miami did last year. Let's offer him $4 million. You can't just sit back and go, well, he would never take that. He loves Georgia. Yeah, but Gunnar Stockton would never take that. He loves Georgia too much. He drives his truck and he raises his cows. He wants to be able to drive back up and see his cows. He doesn't want to go out to Indiana and play football or Miami and play football or wherever. Yeah, everyone says that if you're not, does he going to get drafted? Does he know that? He's got 1 year to make a very smart decision. So Georgia's going to have to pony up. Charlie Weiss earned himself a head coaching job if he wants to get a Kiffin shadow. He's pretty badass. I feel like there should be more uproar about the third and goal call. Hey, Connor, I'm with you. Winter tie, no third option. I'm just saying I don't know how much more uproar you can be, because that's all I've seen, man. That is all I've seen is uproar. Do you see any coaches leaving? I asked a couple coaches if they'd had job offers, and they politely told me to mind my own damn business. I don't mean that in a mean way. It was just, I think they were prepared for that question coming in, and they kept saying, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy where I'm at. And I'm like, because I asked Mike Bobo. There's a thing going around with Mike Bobo where people say, well, if he was so good, he'd have job offers elsewhere. And what people don't understand is there are people who have reached out. That doesn't mean there's been a job offer on the table, but they're like, hey, reach out to his agent. Mike, do you think Mike would be interested in X, Y job? And his agent's like, no, He's coaching his son. They were in Colorado State, then they were in Auburn, they were in South Carolina. He's back home. All his, family's in this area. They love being here. Kids are in school. Blah 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 blah. He's coaching with the team that he loves the most. I don't think he's interested. So it gets shot down early. I wanted him to go on the record and tell me that. Tell me who. And I asked him, and he's like, "No, I'm happy where I'm at." I'm like, I didn't ask you that, Mike. I asked you, have you had any job offers? Has anybody even reached out to see if you were interested? And he's like, "I'm happy where I'm at." I said, "Mike, you're avoiding the question." I said that's not an answer. He's like, "Roddy, I'm happy where I'm at." So then I asked him why. He went right into why do you throw so many screens and why do you hand the ball up the middle to go 2 yards and why do you call a quarterback draw on 3rd and long? And we had tough questions. Now that video's not out, it's coming, and hopefully we can put it here on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, and everybody can hear Mike Bobo's answers to those questions. So, but I did the same thing with Stacy Searels. Some of our guys asked Glenn Schumann if he'd got it, and they Travaris Robinson, we asked him because there's a lot of speculation that he would go to Texas with Will Muschamp. They've coached together for a long time. And now that Will Muschamp's back in Texas, thought, okay, he's going to reach out to his safeties guy. And T-Rob, I'm happy where I'm at. Chidera Uzodiribe, I'm happy where I'm at. And the reason we're asking, because a lot of them do seem happy where they're at, but there's just so many things. Think about all the coaching changes there were this year. A lot of those staffs are gone. You don't just change out the head coach; you change out the whole damn thing. Now, the new coach coming in can elect to keep guys on staff, but a lot of them want to bring their own guy. So, you saw the Georgia Tech defensive coordinator. So, they's going to go fill another spot. Why doesn't Colby return and improve his draft stock? He gets another year because of JUCO. I don't know that is for certain. So, but yeah, he really could come back, and the dude's a monster. Do you think Harley will one day get a chance to take over the offense? Very possible, Patrick. Very possible. But I could see him doing the thing where he gets a head coaching job without being a coordinator. That's rare. I mean, he saw it happen at Syracuse, but yeah, it's a rare thing, but he's really good. And I promote him for that all the time because I think he's going to be a great head coach wherever he goes. I can see him being the guy that comes back and takes over when Kirby's gone. So, Josh Brooks wasn't going anywhere, but it was still news that LSU wanted. Yeah, I mean, LSU wanted him. There's some backroom politics there that I had to shoot down, but a lot of, I made the joke on Twitter, or just the point on Twitter when the LSU AD stepped down. I'm like, the first call is going to be to Josh Brooks, and he came out and said, no, I've not been contacted by LSU, but I'm letting everybody know I'm happy where I'm at. There's been a lot of speculation, and my name's been thrown around a lot. But no, they haven't contacted me, and I'm not interested. And I basically called him out, saying that's BS. And I can't say I told him to his face, but I told him via text. So it's that was a political answer, and I don't put up with that stuff. So T-Rob can take a step down and go to Texas. Yeah, but some of it's about who you play with, and coaching for Kirby is a nightmare. Y'all can clip that and send it to him because no one will dispute it. Coaching for Kirby is a damn nightmare. He is tough, and he works those guys to death. Yeah. Sean Jackson, we need an innovated OC. You might also need an innovated DC. Yeah, just fire them all. Do you think the dogs? Do you think dogs can improve on both sides of the ball in 2026? Yeah, I just had a long-winded answer about that. Absolutely. Mainly because so many of the guys, the positions that you were thin and inexperienced at, are now Now you're thin and experienced. You saw Georgia get a pass rush at the end of the season, which they didn't have at the beginning. At one point, they had 8 sacks through like 8 games. And the next to last team had like 16 sacks, had double the number that Georgia did. Then at the end, they had a pass rush. They had guys that could cover. The secondary got better. Your offensive line got better. Your offensive line got healthy. Your quarterback got better. Your running backs got better. So across the board, you should be better on both sides of the ball next year. No question in my mind. Trying to see here. If Schumann does leave, do you believe the chance to bring back Muschamp? I think he would go a different direction there. And there's nothing against Will Muschamp. But there's a lot more to why Muschamp went to Texas. So I don't feel like that's my place to get into some of that. And some of it is also speculation on my part, but some of it is true. And I don't think that's for me to say. Because you start getting into personal stuff and not coaching related stuff, and I'll try to keep it as I wouldn't want somebody putting out my stuff on there. So, but there's a lot of guys that would love to coach Kirby Smart's defense, and I mean NFL and college. So, 1337 frustrates me. Kirby seems to demand excellence of his players, but not his coaches. Well. Yeah, and I appreciate you saying it seems that way. Kirby is 10 times harder on his coaches than he is any player. If you go to practice, you hear it. If you've heard people that talk about sitting in the meetings, you've heard it. You know it. He rips it. There's coaches that have left. They're like, I can't work with that son of a bitch. He is the most demanding guy. And he's 10 times. We actually had players during the media day on the 30th. They were asked about that. They're like, "Oh God, the way he rips coaches." Because everyone always likes to ask the question about Kirby on the microphone, screaming at players. I know they get a big, and to me it's been done to death, but they do it all the time. And I want to talk about Kirby yelling at, as if he's the only one that has a headset or the public address system during practice. But the problem is all these viral clips come out. People like in the parking lot recording Kirby yelling at his players, and they try to go and keep people from doing that. They walk around the outside of the practice field, and if anybody seems to be loitering, they usher them along. But sometimes it comes through, especially like people walking to a baseball game or a basketball game early on, and you walk past it and you can just hit the record button, but you'll hear him ripping his coaches left and right. So 1337, I know you said it seems that way. I'm just telling you for a fact that it's much worse to be a coach than a player. Or the guys leaving, Dogs 4547 says, are the guys leaving UGA to the portal seeing the writing on the wall? Yes. And again, let me put in another promotion for UGAsports.com. 50% off right now because we're doing a transfer portal sale. When the portal's closed, we're not going to offer 50% off. Probably won't have a deal like that until next Christmas. But go sign up now because one of the features we do is for each guy that leaves, we have what's basically a cost of departure rating. We call it departure cost. Loss level, sting factor, impact level, whatever you want to call it, 1 to 10. 1 would be like an Arik Gilbert. You lose him, he was never here really, no loss. 10 would be like, say, a Damon Wilson who goes on, becomes like an All-American, high draft pick, leads the SEC in sacks, something like that. And the guys who are leaving the wall so far, it's been a lot of, we've been giving these guys 2s and 3s, 1-4. Guys just haven't played yet. Now, some of the bigger numbers are coming. But yeah, it's just you've been recruited over. There's a guy who's getting your snaps who's younger than you. You see the writing on the wall, so you go someplace where you can play. I think the Dogs' best wide receiver of all time is in here. Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, JC, we haven't lost any big hitters so far, correct. But it definitely could happen. Is there any good portal news that you know about that is top secret that isn't out there? Yeah. But here's the thing. If you just go ahead and say, here's what's coming, George is going to sign this guy. Let Uncle Roddy take off his glasses and tell you the biggest mistake he's ever made in his journalism career, or at least the most obvious one. George is deep into the Caleb Downs recruitment, and it goes back and forth, but then it's just Georgia. He's enrolled in classes. I know what classes he's going to take. He's found an apartment. He signed a lease. I know where he's going to live. His parents came up and spent 3 hours. His parents, grandparents, everybody came up, spent like 3 hours at Chuck's Fish, one of the nicer restaurants in Athens, with Kirby Smart and the entire staff, who needed to be doing other stuff. But the whole staff focused on him for 3 hours, or 5 hours. It's nuts. And everybody kept saying, is he really coming? Is he really coming? Finally, I kind of got sick of it. I'm like, look, I know where the son of a bitch is going to live, what classes he's going to take, and exactly how much he's getting paid, because I knew the guy was going to pay him, for his NIL deal, and exactly what he would be advertising. That's why I knew all that stuff. And that guy's like, you can guarantee he's coming. So I go on UGAsports.com and I say, I guarantee. I've never done this in 30 years of reporting. I guarantee this kid's coming to UGA. Next day, goes to Ohio State. Put the shotgun in my mouth, pull the trigger with my toe, blow my career all to hell, or at least my credibility. But no, point being, if there is, I'm not saying that's caused me not to do that. It's just, at this point, you just have to say, look, we think this kid is coming to Georgia. We like his chances. Because even when a kid has agreed to come and the terms have been signed, it can still go the other way. So we won't say, and there are some guys that they've looked at and they think that they're going to get. But I need a lot more before we're like, A, that we would ever say, yes, this is going to happen. And B, I'd still want more coming from their camps because, at this point, everyone's still fielding offers. I'd like a lot more just before we could say, hey, we project, So like the Khalil Barnes kid from Clemson, went in early, taking visits. I think there's a really good chance Georgia winds up with him. So what would we do? We would prepare a story without any quotes in it, just to be ready. Now, we don't want to spend our time writing 1,000 potential stories, but you write one when you think it's a good chance. When we hear a little bit more, we're like, hey guys, we like where Georgia sits with this kid. We like Georgia's chances here. Then we hear from Georgia, yay, we think we're going to get him. Then we go out and say, hey, this is looking really good for Georgia. And people think that, we're just making this stuff up. It's when we get more information, we bring it to our readers and we put it on UGA Sports. So now it's in the initial stages. Or, yeah, we think we're getting this kid. Okay. Is he in the portal? Not yet. Okay. So, gotta wait till A, they're in the portal, and B, after they've taken some visits. So, that has a lot to do with it. Greg Mixon, I think I know that name. We need safety help. Yeah, so it's exactly Rick Olenek. That's what I was just talking about, is the two Clemson kids that are in the portal. Khalil Barnes is one of them. He's the one that went in first. So, so based on the news, how excited should Georgia fans be on a scale of 1 to 10, hypothetically? When the portal's all said and done, you should be around 7 or 8. And here's the thing, they're going to spend a lot of money, but then so is everybody else. But Georgia's going to be super aggressive in the portal. I think you should definitely be in the 7 or 8 range. Thinking a 10, I don't know about that. Yeah. How did you have such bad info, especially Elise? Because the guy who was putting him up signed it. Well, it's like this. Remember when Trevor Etienne went into the portal? You did not hear updates in the portal. There was nothing there. Oh, Miss Mary Embroidery. I like her. She's a nice lady. So Trevor Etienne from Florida goes in the portal, and you don't hear it. I mean, people say, watch Georgia here, but then there weren't updates. And finally, we went to the board, or I got something from one of my guys. Said, look, this kid's looking for an Audi. There's a very specific Audi car that he wants. They're tough to get a hold of. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean to me? My source is like, oh, Georgia knows the guy. They know a guy who knows the guy. And that guy's going to set it up, put him in touch with the right people so that when he gets that first NIL check, he can go get the car he wants. And it's like, it's one of those that's like limited edition. You got to be on a wait list. You had to have bought like 3 of them beforehand to get this one. All that stuff got waived. So all of a sudden, I'm telling people, hey, Georgia's going to get Trevor Etienne because nobody else can get this kid the car he wants. And it wasn't just that. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, we told people that he was coming to Georgia long before everyone started going, yeah, we think he's going to wind up at Georgia, their trackers and stuff like that. And of course, we put it on our board, and then all of a sudden, everybody on Facebook is saying, I really think Georgia stands a good chance of giving Trevor Etienne, according to my sources, which your sources were what you were reading at UGAsports.com, shitheads. Sorry. That bugs me when people take our stuff. I get it. We can't own the news, but, when we work hard to get it, and it's our resources, at least say, according to UGAsports.com. Don't come out and just say, according to my sources, because I pay $9.95 a month to read UGA Sports. So, Ryan Eubanks. We're very young. I'm not mad at our season this year. Dude, after you saw Georgia get their butts kicked at Tennessee and then have to come back and win that game in amazing fashion, and they're down like about to go down 17-0 at, we're about to be that way at Auburn, having to come from behind. Alabama goes ham on them. Kids throws what? They go 8 of 8 on third down. Ole Miss scores 5 straight times on them in the first meeting, and we have to come back, claw back, win after win after win after win, from being down. If I told you after a bunch of those early nail biters that, hey, this team's going to go 12-2 and be SEC champions with all these young players, you'd have given your left arm for that. So, and I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just saying you saw what they had to work with. This team overachieved. But by the time that they were achieving and good at what they were doing, you felt that they should have won it all. And both are correct. They overachieved, but when they got to the level that they needed to be to play for a title, they should have won yesterday or 2 days ago. Then you're looking at a rematch or a match with Miami. Could they stop that defensive line? I don't know. Could he outdo Carson Beck? I don't know. I think whoever won that will win the whole thing, or would have won the whole thing. So, should have won the whole thing, but nobody was expecting that with all the stuff you had to replace this year. I mean, you could want it and say, oh, yeah, I was definitely demanding that. You can demand all the hell you want, but nobody on that Georgia staff thought they would be that far. So, but next year, that'll be the damn expectation. Make no doubt. 13-37. That Miami defense would have scared me after seeing how they destroyed OSU. Yeah. Yep. Go Dogs 33-18. I know where that came from. It says the Big Ten's money has caught the SEC, but we still have Kirby. True. McGrail says Gunner had to have a concussion. He just didn't look like his normal self. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question for Will Pack. Do you see Kirby Smart coaching beyond 5 years? There's rumors out there that he doesn't want to do this like he used to, but there's also Kirby says that's all bullshit. So I think if you get everybody on the same plane, if you get the same rules, Kirby will coach 7, 10, 12 more years. But if it's going to be just year after year, everything's still changing. It's nonstop free agency for everybody on your team, and you have to. And even when you think you've got everybody locked down, like they had Damon Wilson signed to a deal, and then Missouri came in and he broke the deal to go to Missouri. Georgia's suing him for that. He had a buyout. If you see my point. So even the guardrails you put in to try to lock things down, or at least make them even, and then, okay, we're doing revenue sharing. All right, everybody's got the same budget, but not really, because everybody can still do NIL. So it's like, okay, the teams that have giant NIL budgets still have giant NIL budgets. Now everybody's also got to pay out, $20 million out of it, their budget. If it doesn't get equalized, if it doesn't get fixed, why would Kirby put himself through that? He's got nothing to prove, but it's his favorite thing to do. All right. Let me see. Let's answer a couple more questions and we'll wrap this up. Do you think you're getting anybody in the transfer portal receiver-wise? Got to get at least three. At least three, in my opinion. Do you think Branch will stay? I think it's only about a 40% chance. I said 20 this morning, but he really likes being at Georgia. But he also knows the NFL is there, and he's going to be a high draft pick, so I don't see it. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. Hang on. This is weird. Sorry, I'm getting it's telling me to put puzzle pieces in my thing. That's stupid. Do you think Mike Bobo should get fired? No, John Boy. I mean, it would be great for me if he did. It would be fantastic for me. Best thing for a publisher of a website like mine is to have a coaching search. It really is. Not trying to be evil. I'm just saying people want updates and they sign up for the latest. And, we break a lot of news. We have broken, we broke the Kirby Smart hire. We've broken firings. We've broken, a ton of that news. So there's a new offense. We'll have a hot board up, here are the potential offensive coordinators. Here's who's come to visit, It's a lot of work, but it's great for the numbers. We all get Christmas bonuses, but you can't lose 2 games by 3 points and go out and fire your defensive coordinator, your offensive coordinator. Now, Glenn Schumann, the defense was the problem this year. So, is Frazier okay? Yeah, I've not heard much. I really have not. Do you think Rivals gets a good app to use in the next couple of years? Daniel, they haven't had one in 27 years. Why would they have one now? Okay. The On3 app is a little bit better, but here's how I'd say use the to read UGA Sports and Rivals, or On3 and Rivals. They're combined. Use the On3 app. Use the if you're on an iPhone like I am, download Chrome. Use the Chrome browser. Open up UGA Sports. It works 10 times better on a browser than it does any other way. Hell, I even edit all our stories. I edit stories on my phone. It's kind of a pain in the butt. It's better to do it on a laptop. I'm just saying, to read the message boards, to read the updates, to read the stories, it works great on a phone, and but in a browser, not in an app. So just go to the website, ugasports.com. 10 times better. All right, folks. It's 10:30. I'm not able to drink my bourbon here fast enough talking to you folks, so I'm gonna have to cut this off. Megan, can we have a Roddy Daily Live? Yeah, I've been trying to. I said I would do that when I was in New Orleans, but I got a little sick. But I do like having a daily live like this. We did it early on, and then we got like shadow banned, and I'd go live and it's like just spinning, and I'm like, what the hell? But then all of a sudden it seems to be fixed now. But I do need all of you to follow us because we're having some knockdown drag out fights with TikTok. We got one of the biggest Georgia accounts on here for a news organization, but because everybody else is like focused on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But no, I'm a big TikTok guy. I like it, and we could do a lot more lives. What I really need to do is to do like what Pat McAfee does, and we can do a daily show that goes to all of them. And that's not something we have right now, so I have to do this one separately. What I'll probably do with this one is download it and post it to the other outlets. But I would like to have I'd like to do this every day and just answer questions and grow our channel. Because I like the communities. That's the best thing is to have all the communities. I start seeing names like I want to see Connor Chandler come back. I want to see Miguel. Daniel, I don't know you, but you can always come back if you want to talk about going into mourning now with that loss. Georgia is spoiled, but yeah. And I probably need, if we're going to do this every day, I'm going to probably need some of you folks to, I just want to be as big as the Dog Father. I know he ducked out. There's no way he's still on there, but I have to assign some moderators to kick these. Oh, thank you, the folks for following. I just saw a bunch of those. That really makes me happy. Again, I'm not trying to give you a sob story. Dude, we're a media outlet, follow us or not. But I hate the algorithm or the settings screws. A lot of it came from the fact that we would post Kirby Smart clips from press conferences. And all that TikTok would see is Kirby Smart, same face, in front of the same background. Different clothes, of course. Different words, different weeks. But they kept saying, we kept getting flagged for unoriginal content. This is not original, this is not original, this is not original. I'm like, we're a news outlet. We're there. We're the ones creating this. We're the only ones filming it in vertical format. We're the only ones cutting these clips up and putting them here. But they basically thought that we were producing the same clip over and over again. And some of these things go very viral, and then they thought that we were just reloading it to make it go again. And I'm like, that's not what's happening, damn it. So our account gets unmonetized, banned, shadow banned over and over again. So right now it seems to be good. So, but our growth is really weak. So for all of those who hit the follow button, that means a lot to me. Last question, Hunter L. What do you think the next 10 years of Georgia football will look like? I honestly don't know. And I'm not trying to weasel out of it. It's just, it's the money. It's the money, it's the alignment, it's college football. Hunter, last year's different than this year, which are both different than 2 years ago, which, then 3 years ago you had a championship and a championship before that one, and then you had a COVID year. Think about it, from 20 to 2026, a unprecedented season in 2020, an unprecedented season in 2021, yet another unprecedented season in 2023, a step back in 2024, a gut punch in 2025 at the very end when you're rebuilding all this. But I definitely think if you can get all the same rules and keep Kirby ball smart, you win at least three titles. I'm a firm believer in it. But it's got to be a level playing field so that the advantage that he creates by his demanding nature works itself out on the field. All right, folks. I'll talk to y'all later. And again, thank you for all those that followed. That it really does mean a lot to me. I don't ask for money. I do say if you want to read more of this stuff, come to UGA Sports. It's half off. If not, join me on here whenever we go live. Sorry so late. It's just been a super busy day with all the updates we've had in the portal. I'll try to do it at a damn normal time so we're not keeping you 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. You're not having to listen to some idiot talk. We can do it at a more normal time. All right, y'all take care.